come on, then you can talk. Click it again.
All right, we're set, I think. Good afternoon. I'll now call to order the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust meeting. And item number 2 on the agenda is the approval of minutes from May 25th. Would anyone care to make a motion? I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. And the item passes. Item 3 is the ratification of Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust claims. If there's no question or comments, I'll take a motion. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that item passes as well. Moves us to item 4 on the agenda, items for individual consideration. Item A is the joint resolution between city and trust, with the trust accepting the proceeds of the gold bond sale completed last month. Kathy?
This is a routine item that we have to do every time that the city sells gold bond funds on behalf of the trust, to transfer those funds from the city's fund into the Economic Development Trust funds.
Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion. I have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the item is passed. Brings us to item B, the 2022 Myriad Gardens budget.
This item is the annual budget for the Myriad Gardens Foundation to operate the Myriad Gardens facility on behalf of the city. The management fee this year is $2.8 million, which includes the $2.6 million management fee and $170,000 for capital projects that include Crystal Bridge Conservatory repairs, Swiss Pearl replacement, which is the pavers around the facility, Thunder Fountain surface repairs, and other repairs associated with the Myriad Gardens. The level of subsidy for fiscal year 21 was 62%. With this agreement, it will drop back to 56%. It is still a little higher than what we were seeing before the pandemic, but I think they hope that visitorship and ticket sales, and once the Crystal Bridge gets reopened, that number will drop back down again.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments? I'll take a motion. Go ahead and please cast your votes. The item passes. Brings us to item C, the 2022 Scissortail Park budget.
Yeah, again, this is the annual management fee for Scissortail Park with the Scissortail Park Foundation. The management fee this year is $3,633,100. $3.2 million of that is for the operations of the upper park, and then this year we will begin operating the lower park, so there is a $365,900 allocation for the lower park. They intend to start staffing for the lower park in November and are shooting for a May 2022 opening. So exciting to see that part of the park open.
Absolutely. Any comments, questions? Rhonda?
As a comparison, what was the operating budget for last fiscal year? Sorry to catch you off guard.
Yeah, Lacey may have to help me with that.
Okay.
I do know that the level of subsidy, it has declined from 67% for FY21 to 61% for the current year,
Okay.
or for the coming fiscal year.
That's sufficient for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion in a second. Please cast your votes. And the item passes. Which brings us to item 4D, the First American Museum 2022 budget.
Again, this is an annual budget for the First Americans Museum in the amount of $2,750,000. That funding is based on a $2 million disbursement from the escrow account that was established when the city initially entered into the agreement to help support the First Americans Museum, and then a $750,000 allocation from the city's general fund. This was recommended by the AICCM Finance Funding Committee, which is also a part of that original agreement with the city.
And the opening date, they're looking in September, does that sound right?
Yes, I believe so.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion. In a second, please cast your votes. And the item is passed. Which brings us to item E, the chamber contract.
This is the agreement that the trust has with the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation each year. This agreement is in the amount of $1,115,000. This agreement provides $990,000 for professional services, which is a $90,000 increase from the current year's budget, but that was decreased due to COVID-19 budget reductions. So we are going back to the same level that we were in 2020, in FY 2020. It does include $25,000 to administer the strategic investment program and $100,000 for additional services if needed.
Any comments? If not, I'll take a motion. Second, and please cast your votes. And the item's passed. Which brings us to item F, the alliance contract. Wiley,
Yes.
or go ahead.
I need to make the committee, the trustees aware of a change in the memo that you received.
Do you need to turn your
Actual amount,
microphone?
I need to advise the trustees that the memo that was posted to the agenda is incorrect in the amount of not to exceed for the alliance contract. It is not $700,000, it's $650,000. The memo was prepared before we finalized the contract with the alliance, and we failed to go back and make the changes.
All right, so can I get a motion on the amendment? And a second, please cast your votes. The item passes. So with that, I will take a motion on the amended item. Cast your votes. And that item passes. Which brings us to item G, collateral assignment of the BARC incentive.
This is an item that is related to the financing of the new Barquet facility in the Boathouse District. It is an assignment of the agreement that is fairly routine. Jared, do you want to add anything to that, or do we have any questions? Tim Strange is also here if you have any questions.
Good afternoon. I'm Jared Beatty, Assistant Municipal Councilor. As Ms. O'Connor referenced, this does relate to the Economic Development Agreement that the Trust approved in September of last year for the Barquet project, and that's a combination restaurant, bar, and dog park within the Boathouse District. As anticipated by the Economic Development Agreement, Boathouse Bark LLC seeks to assign the agreement's development incentive to their lender as security for their construction financing. And Ms. O'Connor mentioned that Mr. Strange, one of the managers of Boathouse Bark LLC, is here to answer any further questions you might have.
I know in our last meeting at Riverfront, there was a lot of discussion about what obligations were going to be incurred as a result of the assignment. And what I tried to explain to the committee in that meeting was this was for purposes of obtaining a construction loan. And Tim, you were kind enough to get up and mention that there are 8 investors and they are all guarantors on the note, which seemed to give that committee some comfort.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman and trustees. That's correct. So that's actually the second item that's going to be considered, but the first item is really just security for our construction loan and the amount of the TIF incentive, which will come in at the end of the construction process and then pay off that bridge loan for that TIF financing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments, questions? If not, I'll take a motion. Cast your votes. And the item passes. Which brings us to item H, the collateral assignment of the BARC sublease agreement.
Yeah. And this change allows for the sublease to be assigned to the new Boathouse Barquet LLC, and again, is necessary as a part of the financing.
All right, I'll take a motion. Please cast your votes. And the item passes. This brings us to I, the addendum amendment to economic development agreement on the 700 West project.
Yes, this project is a development at 4th and Scissortail in downtown Oklahoma City. The economic development agreement was entered into last August and provided financing in the amount of $2,155,000 from TIF 2 and $2 million in affordable housing funding to build 72 affordable units within the development. The developer is entering into a joint venture with a related party, CRP/WRDP 700 West Owner LLC, to raise equity for the project, and the assignment is requested by the provider of the equity for the project in order to move forward. And Ron Bradshaw and Gina Sofola and their lawyer Sally Hassenfratz are all here to provide additional details.
As the general manager mentioned, we were chosen as redevelopment team for this property by the Urban Renewal Authority, and we were ready to start construction. We've gone through last year trying to develop a good equity partner. This is a $52 million project. Tinker Federal Credit Union is the interim lender, and Carlisle Real Estate Property, one of the largest apartment developers and equity owners in the United States, has chosen to join us as the equity partner. We'll be providing 35% of the equity, or of the total stack, 60% financed, 35% their equity, and 5% our equity. So we hope to get started. We're scheduled to close, if it be your choice and approval, we're scheduled to close the afternoon after the next council meeting on the 6th of July, and we'll start construction immediately thereafter.
Excellent.
303 units wrapped around a parking garage. As Kathy said, it's a 72 workforce housing project, workforce housing.
Right. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. And please cast your votes.
Thank you very much.
That item passes. Thank you. Brings us to item J, resolution authorizing solicitation of underwriters for refunding of Tiffay bonds.
Yes, I'd like to invite Angela Pierce to come in and describe this item to the trust.
Good afternoon, Angela Pierce, Assistant Finance Director. I'm excited today to be discussing with you some potential savings from your 2013 Bond Series A and B. The total amount outstanding on the debt is $96.9 million. Based on current market conditions today, the estimated savings are projected at roughly $13.8 million, which is also 14%. The city's debt management policy requires a 3% savings in all maturities, and so we're well above that minimum. In this refunding opportunity, the maturities will not be extended at all on the outstanding bonds. And if approved, the resolution before you today will move forward with the financing plan. We'll be able to prepare an official statement, solicit bond ratings, engage our service professionals such as bond counsel, disclosure counsel, and so on. We'll follow the city's debt policy, and we'll also be adopting the city's pool of pre-qualified underwriters. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions? Thank you. I always like to hear when we can save money like that. That's fantastic.
It's nice to bring good news to the trust.
I like it. All right, I'll take a motion on the item. We have a first and second, please vote. And the item is passed. Brings us to item K, a joint resolution between city and trust transferring ownership interest in public infrastructure assets.
So this item, and Lacey may have to get up here and help me with this, but I think this is a fairly routine item that we have to do every year, where there are certain assets that were purchased or constructed by the trust on behalf of the city, and we, at this point in time, and donate those back to the city, and it makes the auditors happy.
Good afternoon. Yes, that's a perfect description. These are 13 public infrastructure projects that the trust has purchased or constructed to achieve the city's community and economic development goals. And at this time, it's the recommendation of the City Accounting Services Division that we go ahead and transfer these assets to the city. Thank you.
Any questions, comments? If not, I'll take a motion. And please go ahead and cast your votes. And the item is passed. Brings us to item L, the 2022 trust budget.
The trust received a presentation at your May meeting describing the budget for the coming fiscal year. So if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them at this time, but I don't think we have any other information to add.
Seeing no questions, I'll take a motion on the item. Please go ahead and vote. And the item passes. Brings us to item 5, General Manager Reports.
The General Manager's report is in your packet. I don't really have anything to add. I just wanted to note that it's interesting that we've had several items today that are related to the financing for projects that are about ready to get under construction. So I think it's a really good sign that things are beginning to return to normal in a lot of different ways in Oklahoma City. So looking forward to all these projects starting.
Any comments from staff? Any comments from trustees?
I'm glad that we are all back together again on the horseshoe. It's good to see everyone.
It is. And is any citizen signed up to speak? No citizens. So with that, item 7, we are adjourned.